Good afternoon. I'm going to say that in as vicious a way as possible. Not the game score we wanted, but more importantly, not the performance we wanted either. Joined by Brian and Barack. Gentlemen, that was if we had lost that game 2-1, playing out of our skins, and it was just one of those whoever scores last wins the game, and Newcastle happened to do it. I think we'd still be bitterly disappointed, but positive. But that was an absolute joke, wasn't it, Brian?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we were dominated by their midfield. It was we just ran over. I mean, we looked like a shell of ourselves. So, I mean, yeah, it's just. I mean, I was about to say right there. I think that the score is flattering. I think that I mean, Kelleher made some good saves, and I also think that they had some opportunities they missed chances on. So, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, it's been a pretty crappy week.
Brian, I mean, it has been a bad week, but we didn't start the game fast, and that's always been a worry in recent times. We start way too slow. But what kind of got me, which I said the Discord channel, is we needed 2 goals at one point and had plenty of time to bring things back, and we continued to play slow. It's well known in around these parts that I despise possession for the sake of possession football and just passing for the sake of passing. But there were in the first half, the best attacks we seemed to have were when we just launched it over the midfield and into the Diaz and Salah, but we just stopped doing that. Here's my question, and it's my question to everybody: did Slot fail at the first hurdle here by not making changes that needed to be made as soon as we could all see them within the first 15 minutes? Not just the style of play, their pace of play, but like marking assignments on corners and the fact that we were being outworked and outmuscled by their midfield.
Yeah. This is interesting, right? I don't usually join these because usually I write the column right after the game. And at this point, I came in front of my screen. I'm like, what am I going to post? A poop emoji? So I'd rather sort of join this. But so here's an interesting thing to consider, right? This very same team against that very same team, Isak being Isak, whatever, but it didn't make that big of a change in terms of Newcastle, right? So clearly the change was us because we just 2 or 3 weeks ago looked, we dominated in pretty much the same match. But we looked leggy, and we've been looking leggy for a little while. It's the late season whimper that we tend to find ourselves in these days, pretty much every year. And so you kind of wonder, it's really tough. I cannot imagine being in Slot's position, right? But you kind of wonder whether you have that question, right? Do I put my senior players, even though I know they're tired, because I can trust them for their experience, or do I put young blood in when I open? And I can understand going with the tried and true, especially as that very same tried and true dominated Newcastle, that very same team just a couple of weeks ago. But dear me, you get to halftime after that display. That is the time to shake things up. And look at all that energy that Harvey brought in, and Chiesa. Oh my God, did he look good, right? I mean, I hope he gets some minutes finally moving forward. So Jones, gosh, he's a conundrum for me. I mean, he brings in the energy, but what happened to his scoring boots? Did he forget them in the bottom of the closet somewhere? It's fascinating, but absolutely, we need that energy. I don't think the international break is going to help much because all of these very same players that we seem to open every game are going to be playing very heavily in the international break. Is Slot really going to change that? I hope so. But we don't do much. I mean, at this point, we don't have to run to win the league, right? We can crawl across the finish line. As long as we're crawling, we'll be okay. So let's just do that.
Brian, I mean, that is a fair point. I think we were probably all calling for changes 20 minutes into the game. But, Gravenberg he may as well have been in a wheelchair getting around the field. And at half time, you would surely probably think if you were ballsy enough to do it and just go, right, Endo, you're on, just shore everything up. We just need somebody to sweep up behind what we're missing in midfield, because McAllister wasn't picking up his marks. Szoboszlai was running, but he was also trying to, for some strange reason, get into arm wrestling battles with probably the strongest physical midfield you'll have to face. So have somebody there who has the legs and the desire to actually just clean up, who just doesn't care about looking good. He just wants to do his job. But what was it, 50, 60 minutes before we got a change? Like it was. I almost would say, if I wasn't giving Slot the benefit of the doubt, which I kind of am, but if I wasn't, that was a dereliction of duty.
I mean, there's a couple odd changes right there. I definitely think that the change of putting Gravenberch back in the back when you took Kanate off was kind of a weird situation to me right there. If we thought that Gravenberch was really leggy, why are we coming to replacing him and putting him back there when, like you said right there, we could have brought Endo on and Endo could have came there and used him as a close out of the game. I mean, I had no issues with coming there trying to go to a back three if you're trying to force a game right there and be more positive. But I think that, like you were saying there, we should have these subs at the half. I mean, there should be a lot more positive subs through there. I think Gravenberch probably should have been pulled off for Endo, moving McAllister up a little bit higher right there behind there. But I mean, another thing right there is Slobosly was almost non-existent in that match in a lot of ways right there. He didn't really show up to the matches that we all expected to do right there. This isn't like a new thing either. This has been like now for like the past couple of matches that we've seen the same thing happen. Jones' energy right there to me was great, but again, this is that final piece right there. I mean, but I did see more action happen with Jones right there than we saw like the entire first half right there of that match. So I mean, it goes. I'm gonna steal something from Kazi right now. Is he's got to learn to trust his players. I mean, honestly, right there, he didn't trust his players, and this is kind of what happens when you run these guys like that for 90 minutes. Every single one of these guys at midfield has been running for 90 minutes like they're going a week straight without break. What do you expect this to happen?
Kazi, we talked on Thursday, or maybe it was the last post-match, but we talked about how we had completely different fitness people last year and the years before under Klopp, a completely different manager, different coaching styles, and yet we have the same problem come January, February, March, where players are running around like they've got the lead weights on the ankles to do the increased fitness training thing. So the only common denominator I can think of is that both managers just don't rotate at all. Or they do rotate at the start of the season when you don't need it to be done, when you need the rotation now. And is this just like a managerial trend that we just happened to look out with two managers in succession who only play, 12 players, 13 players constantly, which for a big club like Liverpool, you really do need the strength and depth, don't you? And you need to trust that strength and depth.
I don't think it's anything to do with the fitness side in terms of that. I just think it's more this manager at least. I think we'll do the stats when the season's over about how many minutes of the players got, but I am going to bet my house that Jurgen Klopp give more players time than what Arne Slot has. People can, I might be proven wrong, but it just feels like that at least. But it's the same squad of players that we seen last year. We were dead in March, and it's the same squad of players again. And it's the difference is now Liverpool have a 12-point lead, and I'm not chasing an unbelievable Manchester City side who are going to get over 90 points, and that's the difference compared to this year. So this year could still be, of course, all the dreams come true, and it's extremely successful. But that doesn't still mean that this squad of players can be run again, does it? I don't feel like that is the thing. So we're getting, you kind of getting what you deserved a little bit in terms of the manager. Yeah, in terms of rotating early on the season, the reason why you rotate early on the season, mate, is that the other players are now fitter to do March and April. The problem is right now, that midfield that cannot start again. That cannot start another game again. Like this season, it just can't. They can't run. They physically can't run. I feel sorry for Gravenberch. I genuinely feel so sorry for the kid. The kid hasn't kicked a footy for 2 years, and then he's just getting destroyed and ran into the ground, and now he's got to go and play 2 games for Holland. Which is definitely going to happen, because if I'm the Holland manager, I think it's Koeman, I'd want to have a look at him. I'd want to take, you know what I mean? So he's in his right to do that. And then, listen, I'm not here to, more on Szoboszlai and stuff. He's awful today. Szoboszlai was brilliant in that run of 6 games with City away and Villa away. It was excellent, and he stepped up, and all credit to him. But it comes down to the point of that you trust 16 players. This is not a Dutch league. I'm sorry, you will get found out. I've said this for weeks, and I feel like now only people are starting to click. That team is running on fumes. They are running on empty. There's nothing left in those legs. We have ran those legs. People go to me, we got this like so intense style under Jurgen Klopp, and now Klopp might be able to conserve the. No, we just need to rebuild. It just needs a refresh. It's just like it looks like the end of Ferguson's side when Ferguson still won the league, but everyone knew that team needed a rebuild. That's what that, you know what I mean? Maybe that's controversial, I don't care, but that's how it felt. That's how it feels to me, at least. It feels like it's the last ever 04 Arsenal squad when they went the invincible. When you actually look at it, Cesc Fabregas should have been playing more minutes than that, blah, 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 and here we are kind of thing. And there's a couple of teams like that that's been, I look at 99, 2000 with United. But listen, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We didn't play well again. But it's now starting to trust your team now. You need 5 more wins. That's it. I don't care where you get them. I don't care if Everton show to Anfield in a couple of weeks and beat us. As long as you get your 5 wins and win this damn league and tie it off.
We don't even need 5, Cosy.
I know, mate. I know, but as of right now, as it stands, it's 5, isn't it? I think it's 4 if you beat Arsenal or whatever.
I think if we beat Arsenal, it's 3 and a draw is enough.
Yeah, 3 and a draw is enough. Yeah. So my point is, fella, it's trust Chiesa. You signed him.
Yeah.
Is he going to be a worse option than Jota or Darwin right now down the middle? I don't think he is. Trust Harvey Elliott. He's the only one who can find a pass in the final third. Listen, Szoboszlai does certain things for you. I know Szoboszlai and Elliott are 2 completely different players. I get it. Look at his passing when he came on. He fired. Chiesa should score in the second half anyway before he does score. When he takes an awfully bad touch when Elliott fires it into him, it's a bad touch really. He should score, and then Elliott then he does score. So it's frustrating. I'm annoyed as much as anyone, but it's just this team's giving us everything this season. They just have nothing left again.
Brian, in terms of what we were talking about beforehand with the number 9 and the constant topic we have on Thursday nights, there was a major difference between Jota. I mean, Darwin Núñez is just like he's so frustrating because he can see the potential, but he just doesn't fulfill it. And then, there was that ball that came into the box where he just had it was a quick ball in with no doubt. I'm not going to blame him for not being able to react in a split second, but nevertheless, the best forwards react in that split second, and he could have put us ahead a lot earlier or put us a goal in a lot earlier, and then the game changes with a lot more time to deal with it. But Chiesa showed what somebody who just wants to score is what he can do. He can't stay fit, it seems sometimes, but nevertheless, this is the point we're talking about, isn't it? We need somebody other than Salah, because I think I was proved right in the pre-match. He didn't start. I know because he made a great point about he's not getting the ball, but when he did get the ball, he wasn't threatening Newcastle. So we needed another threat from somewhere, and we didn't have that threat until basically until Harvey Elliott came in, because then he was making things happen from midfield. We just needed somebody at the other end of them to beat.
How good was Elliott? Elliott was amazing.
Yeah, he was fantastic.
That was great. But again, right there, if you have one player that is actually being an impact player, and you basically take him out of the match, then you've pretty much fulfilled what you need to do defensively right there. I mean, I have my stick with Eddie Howe right there, but Eddie Howe played, he came there and managed a good match. I mean, he did exactly what they wanted to do. They bossed us in the midfield. They came there and blocked out Mo, and they did they came there and took opportunities that they needed to take. I mean, we're lucky that this wasn't a 3-0 or 4-0 right there, honestly, right there, because I think that one goal that Isaac got disallowed was so close right there. I mean, that could have gone either way. But yeah, I mean, the number 9 position right there, I guess we all have our different opinions of what that number 9 position should be. I mean, I guess we were so blessed and gifted to have Bobby for so many years right there, and where you had that type of player that could do multiple different things, set up play, go back and push and press, and then also score. That but again, right there, those are players that you don't come along, that don't come around so much. But again, right there, I think that Jota right there didn't really do anything in that first half right there. I mean, and that was kind of what Sir Z was kind of saying a little bit in the pre-match, that that he didn't think that was going to be that much of an impact, and he wasn't an impact. But again, Darwin wasn't an impact either right there when he came on. So I mean, we had to wait until we had Chiesa came on in like the 75th minute until we actually came there and had Chiesa and Harvey coming on. Then we actually had play happen. So the number. I honestly, like I said before, I think that you're going to see probably 3 of those. And I forgot to mention even Diaz. To me, Diaz ran around the whole match. It frustrated the hell out of me at the whole match right there of on his play on the left side. I've seen Diaz be great. I've seen Diaz do this. And a lot of times up there, I see Diaz do this. And I really honestly think that there's like at least 3 of the 4 of those forwards out there are probably going to need to go. I mean, honestly, that we need to go out there and need to upgrade, or we need to go back and trust. Need to get somebody who can bring Dan's back in to come be an understudy with somebody. There's a lot of things that need to happen in the summer, and this is going to be a very marking summer for FSG right there, because this is going to be a full rebuild that they haven't done for quite a few years.
Brack, I mean, Diaz was frustrating, but even still, at least in the first half, he was the one that most of our good stuff was coming through, even there was no great end product, wasn't he? I mean, without him, we were kind of stuck with just playing the ball around. We had like 60% possession or something like that in the first half and 0 shots. But anything that looked like it was going to be a shot was coming through Diaz's side more than it was Salah's, wasn't it?
I 100% agree with that. I didn't think Diaz was that bad. I honestly think, if you want to talk about the player that really hasn't been showing up, and we're talking the last 3 or 4 games, it's Mo. And, it's hard because, we know Mo is chasing records, and, Mo is only, is the one that's going to put those penalties in. And, Mo is sometimes the one that doesn't show up for the entire game and then scores that one vital goal, or gives that one vital pass at the end. So it's how to not put him on, and probably you also have the personnel side of it. But where he's disappeared for the last handful of games. And, sometimes you need, kind of hate, pardon my French, but you got to have the balls sometimes to take that player in one game and put him off. And whether it was Southampton, yes, he scored those 2 penalties in the end, right? It's the whole thing we're talking about. Or whether it was PSG, or whether it was today, or whether it was at halftime, put Harvey on instead of Mo, I think we would have looked so much better in the second half. We'll see if the international breaks helps here, right? I mean, he's clearly going to play every game and all the minutes in every game, but I don't know, maybe that's sort of a bit of a reset. But yeah, I would definitely go after him before I go after Diaz. Diaz was at least energetic. I don't know where he keeps those legs from, where he gets them, because he's been running like crazy, and he always runs like crazy, but he's one of those, right?
And my issue, fella, and I with Diaz is that why do you always keep cutting in? Sometimes you're playing against an old fullback. Just run him. That's where I get frustrated with him. Like, let Trippier make a challenge on you. Let him make a fucking foul on the edge of their box, and we have a free kick from 30 yards out. Do you know what I mean? He just always wants to keep coming in on that right-hand side. And I get it, because that's his favourite foot, and I understand that, but there's just no running the line with him. Like, Trippier's injured. Trippier can't walk at the end of the first half. He can't walk. And not once, and by the way, this is not his fault, not once did our team think to go, you know what, we'll just get Diaz to isolate and run at him and just see if his hamstring goes. Not once. Like, the Diaz, and when Diaz, I think it was like half a chance, but Diaz had the chance to run at him, we just give the ball to Trippier. And I was just so frustrated. That's where the frustration comes in, because it feels like he has all the ability in the world to really, like, I say this all the time about him, right? He has the ability, clearly, right? He's quick, he's powerful, he's strong at times, he can finish when he wants to finish, he can do it. He should be getting great numbers at Liverpool. He should be on 15, 20 goals every year at left wing. Do you know what I mean? In terms of how many chances Liverpool create throughout the season, I don't think 15 goals out of Liverpool's left winger is a lot to ask for. I don't. And when at the start of the season, but I mentioned this, I remember I was in the chat with, actually, I think it might have been the Thursday show about him, when I kind of revealed myself to be a Diaz doubter. And it's because everyone's going, well, he scored a lot of goals early on. And I think he scored 8 or 9, and he scored 4 doubles. So he'd only scored in 5 games. Do you know what I mean? And again, it's not easy to dig out, because you can dig, by the way, you can dig out any player today. Any player, you can dig them out and go, you weren't great.
That's true.
Do you know what I mean? Because Diaz was on the conversation, I wanted to mention it, because that's where the frustrating comes. You know what I mean? By the way, James Pearce just tweeted that Harvey Elliott had to be helped off the pitch because it looked like he was injured. There you go. And so I don't know what's happened there. Maybe that's to do with the Joe Linton pullback at the end. Maybe it could have. We could really be affected by that. So hopefully not.
How is that not a red card? Like that? I do not understand this.
It's so cynical. The referee didn't want to make a decision. in the last kick of the game. Couldn't be bothered with the controversy. Didn't want to make a decision. I actually think it's a pen in the first half for Trippier on the handball. And that's not me being biased. I think that's a 50-50 coin toss. The referee, they did everything they could with the Chiesa one not to even give it. They looked at that. See the one where they looked at the Elliott challenge? It was clearly a great challenge by Elliott. And
it was almost like they're going, well, Chiesa did something 4 games back when he was on the warming up on the sun. Let's call it for that.
But it's, listen, fully deserved to Newcastle, mate. Liverpool will pour again, and Liverpool have their own issues. All it is right now is not to just win the league, and that's it. Just go away from me. This is what, and Brian, this is why I wanted to be there on Thursday when you put international breaks in room 433. Look at you now. Now you want the international break. I love it.
I'm going to go
oh yeah, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and dig it out of and dig that out of the room. No, I won't.
Actually,
no, I won't dig it out.
But because you said something interesting that I actually want to kind of even sharpen a little bit, right? Which is, and I think it's another testament to how tired these players are, right, on the mental side. Because what happens with fatigue? Perhaps your legs are still working, but your brain isn't. There was a moment there where Trippier was clearly, I think 25 minutes in, where the ref was talking to him and basically saying, one more foul, you're getting carded, I don't care. And somehow, right after that conversation, Diaz stopped running at him. And that's a mental thing. That's not a physical thing, right? It's like, that is exactly the moment where you double down. That is exactly the moment. What you just said is like, this is the moment. Start running at Trippier every goddamn time. So that he gets that card.
But I mentioned this back in the Discord, where players can't think for themselves anymore. They can't think. They just have to, because they're so programmed in their head that we've got to do it this way because it's how the manager wants, instead of just going, for example, with Dan Burn and Alexis McAllister. Why is McAllister walking over going, any chance I can get some hand here? Put Jarrell Quanton and going, I'm taking him with me because he's massive and he's going to jump with him. This is just basic stuff. Something continuously happens in a game and you just don't want to fix it because the manager told you not to. It just seems crazy to me. It's like there, and again, it's hard because we were so blessed with Sadio Mane. And that's why I don't want to compare him. We're so blessed to have a player like who's as smart as him. Sadio Mane goes, just you give me the ball now. He looks at Henderson and goes, give me the ball now, and I'm running him for the next 5. And I'm going to get him done. And it's just that kind of stuff which sometimes we're not smart enough. And I look at Arsenal, and trust me, we're miles better than Arsenal, but they've got the dark arts down to a T. They've got the dark arts down to a T.
That's not even dark arts, though. We don't even need that. We're exactly what you're saying. It's just think. It's common sense.
All their wingers, all of Arsenal players get Trippier booked there in the next 5. They go, we're just going to plow. Gabriel and Saliba's going to go plow long balls in him. And we'll win fouls off him and everything, and we're just going to target him. Liverpool, and again, this is just the manager's entitled. I keep saying this. I've said this loads of post matches. The manager's entitled to make mistakes. This is his first season. He's going to make mistakes. He's entitled to it. But we know, because we've ran this race before, gents, as Liverpool fans, what happens to this squad in March if you don't rotate. We know. I'm sorry, we're more experienced than the manager in that sense because we've seen it. We've seen it, fella. You haven't. We've lived the reality of what happens, and this is what happens. And it just is what it is. And again, Diaz and there's other players there again. We know what we're getting out of them, and it is what it is. But completely fair play. Newcastle deserve to win and all that kind of stuff. It's just frustrating that that's the way it has to go. You know what I mean? Like that's the way it went. And I just felt like in the first half, mate, we just so poorly. But
Brian, I agree with Cosy completely. And to me, it's a legacy of a thing that I still don't understand to this day. I know why it's done, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Is when subs are coming on and then they have the binder out and they're flipping through the 20 pictures they have to memorize. Like it just seems like given work. It's given work for coaches so they can earn their paycheck because it's literally just you're on number 14. Just stay with him, and if it changes, something else. Or pick up the tallest guy. Are we possibly, and players in general in the modern Premier League at least, are we overcoached?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll go back with the corner thing right there, zonal marking. And I mean, you can see that shit was zonal marking. That's why exactly McAllister was sitting there covering Burn right there, because it was his little area right there. And, it annoys me right there when I see this right there because, okay, it's like you said, players think for yourselves, hey, guess what? This guy's getting beat. When we got let off on one of the first Burns right there when he flicked that header in right there. And you said, okay, guess what? They're going to see this is a chance. What they do? went right to Burns with there and scored off him right before I went there. So that tells you right there what to do. I did want to go there and point out one player right there that I didn't think was that bad. I didn't think that Kwanzaa was that bad in that match. I thought Kwanzaa actually played a pretty solid match right there, and I think he redeemed himself over the past like couple the critiques that they have for him, because we were talking about it on Discord right there, talking about players. People say, "Oh, Kwanzaa's going to get sold." There's no way I'd sell Kwanzaa. He's 22-year-old. He's a 22-year-old defender. I mean, he can become good defender to like 26, 27 right there. So I mean, it's just I think it's like you said right there, Kazi. It's definitely a learning curve right there, and I think the biggest learning curve that Slot needs to do is to build himself a side that he can trust, because right now, with the shortest amount of players that he's rotating through in there, I mean, that we don't have the trust in there right there. And to do this, because I mean, I can tell you right now that probably Klopp last year, probably what happened, some of these players probably wouldn't have even played. He probably came there and said, I can't play you. I think that you would probably see McConnell in this match, more likely right there. You probably would have seen Endo in this match. He probably wouldn't point back and say, hey, guess what? I can't play these guys. Because again, it goes back to the trust of building up your system. And this isn't his system yet. This is still Klopp's system. And that he's and his players that he has to go out there and create his own with. So, I mean, it is what it is anymore right there. But I mean, again, like it's modern football like this is like this right there. This comes in peaks and ebbs, and so and players will come, players will go, managers come, managers go right there. But again, the whole thing is right there is establishing a bit of trust with your squad, and I think that's one thing that needs to be done.
Brock, let me ask you this, just to kind of like piggyback on Cozzy and Brian's point a little bit. If this is a thing that has happened to Liverpool frequently, of the physical falling apart in March, was it not Slot's responsibility to learn that and not have to learn it on the job? It seems like something where you could look back, well, where has this club gotten injuries before? Where have they lost players? Like there's a thing from the Shanks days, and I believe it was Joe Fagan started it back in the 50s, where they would have a logbook and they would literally log every detail of Liverpool's training every single day, the grass conditions, the weather conditions, what they had played the previous weekend, what they had for lunch the day before, so that if an injury crisis occurred or if players were going down at the same time during the year, they could look back at the logs and go, well, what have we done to, what did we change? What was the conditions? What do we need to change? And they were doing that with pen and paper on a big stack of books. We have computers now, and we have like all of the data from the bra tops that they have to wear with the GPS and stuff like that, and the blood lactate measurements, etc. Surely Slot should have had a look at the injury record and the fatigue record of Liverpool and said, okay, well, they get tired in March. We need to figure out why and make sure it doesn't happen to us.
Boy, I'm going to say some things that probably, are not typical in this kind of chat about the world of football, but I'll say them anyway. Some of them are less controversial than others, but I'll start with the less controversial stuff. Look, Liverpool has a great data analysis, kind of backroom, clearly. But, it's interesting because it is very possible. First of all, we have less injuries this year than we did in previous years, right? I mean, they are doing better in that respect. They're keeping the players physically more healthy. And this is the less controversial bit. Here, now let's get into what that means. I don't know that the team really groks or understands this concept of it's not even just mental fatigue. We're getting to the point of emotional fatigue. These players are human, right? Mm-hmm. And we can't just believe that if they are physically fit and they can, they can pass their lactate tests or whatever it might be, week in, week out, that means that they're fit to play. You got to take care of their mind. You got to take care of their heart if you want to keep them fit. Today, the thing that was so interesting today to watch, because it was on such stark display, is that you had two teams. Liverpool is better than Newcastle in terms of, on paper, I don't think there's a question. These are two teams that are not, they're not a good matchup. We have a much better team on paper. Mm-hmm. But you saw a team coming in fired up and totally understood. First chance at a real trophy in 60 years, something like that, right? You knew they were going to come come into this game with their tails up. They wanted this trophy. Yes, it's the least of the 4 majors, but it is still a major trophy, and they really wanted to win it. And the team that stood, in front of them, that was technically more gifted and physically, in theory, more gifted, went on that pitch before the opening whistle, right, and already looked like it was a little bit sad. And you just go play that. Go play the clips for before the opening whistle, right? And to me, that points at something. That points at a gap, because it's not just about the condition of the pitch and the physical fatigue and what have you. You got to start thinking about what you're doing to these players in terms of managing their ability to show up, right? And if this is happening year after year, as it has been happening, I think that's probably points to a gap in the operation itself. We may be overanalyzing the physical side, but not taking care of the other two.
Do you think, Cosy, I tongue in cheek have fallen at the first hurdle there as a little thing for Slop, but that there's a degree of, because that's a thing Rafa was accused of a lot, was not taking care of the emotional and mental needs of players. It was just, you've done your job, I'm finished with you now, and I'm just not going to talk to you anymore, kind of a deal. That maybe Slot is a bit too tactical and not enough. Klopp was he did drag every ounce of energy out of the players, but he did so with a warmth that came through, not just as the manager of the players, but the manager of the fans and the clubs. He's just a guy you want to go for a drink with. But you could almost say yourself, saying goodbye to Slot at the end of the day, and then well, I don't care if I see him till tomorrow morning. There's no rapport kind of a deal with him, and that maybe he is maybe a bit too technical. I'm always drawn to the fact to give the guy credit, and I'm sorry, but I'm getting my payment one way or the other here today. But Brendan Rodgers bringing in Steve Peters in 13-14, the sports psychologist, albeit on a part-time basis, but it spoke to the idea that we do have to take care of the psychosocial and the emotional needs of the players as well. I don't know why he went at the end of that season, because it was a bloody good season, and you just go yeah, thanks very much, Steve, bye. But maybe Slot is not an overly warm manager, or doesn't think in those terms.
I don't know, Mac. We don't know, do we? We're still kind of new to all this a little bit. We don't know. I keep saying this about signings. We don't know what a Slot signing looks like. We have no idea. But it's on a good point about the mental fatigue. There's a part of this where when you run players maybe Virgil van Dijk goes, now, can't be arsed doing this next year. I haven't got the energy. Because he's just mentally spent. It's not about physically spent. Could he physically? Of course he can. But there's a lot of players who can be physically spent and mentally spent, being two different things. The difference about top players, and I'm not saying our players aren't, of course they are literally the highest, is that they can go again. Can you go again? Well, Virgil van Dijk's went for 9 years. He's proved he can go again. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying physically could he. Of course he can. He's a fucking Rolls Royce, what a footballer. But mentally, can he be asked? Does he win the league in 5 games and go, you know what, lads? That fucking French league looks like a barrel of laughs, I'd have to get out of second gear and have a chance to win the fucking Champions League again. And by the way, they're paying me 200 grand a year more. And I'm 35. And I can go and win the French league for a couple of years and play with a load of boss kids and look like the best player in the world. That's this also, by the way, can be the same set of Mo Salah and these type of players. The mental fatigue is as important as the physical fatigue in that sense. In terms of when you look at a player like Ryan Gravenberch, who's 22, being completely run into the ground, it's not about getting him a break in certain games of physically. Yes, that's important, but also just take a week off, lad. Just take a week off. Fly back to Holland for 2 days. I'll see you Wednesday. See you Thursday. Do you remember we famously sent Sterling back on holiday for a week? Was it 13-14? We just sent Sterling on holiday.
Yeah, sent him to Jamaica, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, we sent him to Jamaica to see the family, and he came back and he was unbelievable. Yeah. Sometimes, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes with international breaks, players just go away, get the home comforts, and come back and just look. Sometimes, that's all I needed was to see the family, realise why I live away from them because I all hate them all, and then I want to come back again. You know what I mean? So, but again, this is no surprise, don't matter what's happening. This is the same squad of players, I keep telling you, who was the same last year, who were dead in March. They're dead in March again. But again, the difference is they have a 12-point lead. And that's the difference. And you haven't got Man City breathing down your neck with a fit Kevin De Bruyne, looking at you, for like stalking you like prey in the jungle. Now you can just win your home games and get there. So it's frustrating. It really is. I'm angry and annoyed, but I keep saying it. The rebuild's bigger than you think. It really is bigger than you think. And I think, by the way, I also think the manager and the chief exec knows it is. I think they know it is. I think they know because they're not stupid. If Liverpool roll in with just 2 signings next year, I think I'd want to burn the place down, to be honest, because that team, it needs to be Jerry Krause.
We need like 7 new players, to be fair.
I keep saying this. Honestly, Mark, everyone thought I was insane when I was saying this at Christmas. I was going because the manager doesn't fancy 5 of them.
That wasn't because he said that, because we just think you're insane anyway.
Oh, thank you, brother. I appreciate it. But no, there's a chance here, though, gents, where, again, you probably need a new left back, 2 centre-halves, because Gomez will probably go. Then you know what you're getting out of Joe. You have a big right-back issue, because if the main one goes, the second one can't get fit. And I like Conor Bradley, but he doesn't stay fit. Like, where was he today? I could have done with Conor Bradley today. I would have loved his whiff today, trust me. And then the midfield, he doesn't like Endo, doesn't like Elliott. Just doesn't like them, clearly. He has 3 midfielders that he likes. He kind of likes Jones, so you probably need 2 more. The left winger we just spoke about, Cody Gakpo seems like a player, but can he stay fit? No idea. You need the number 9. We already spoke about it. And then if Mo Salah goes, you need to find 30 goals.
I really think you're talking about 3, about at least 2 left backs right there, honestly, because I think there's a good chance that Robbo's going to walk.
Well, by the way, the keeper who started today is probably going to leave.
Oh, absolutely.
You're going to bring this Georgian kid in who doesn't even look that good. Oh, and then is he the number 1 in 2 years' time when he's bottom of the league with Valencia and fighting relegation or whatever he's doing these days? So, again, I love this team, but this is the last of this team. I love them. And what they're going to deliver for us to get this 20th league title. By the way, they all deserve that second because they should have won 5. And if the other team never cheated across the park, they probably would have won 5. But they deserve the second. They deserve that last run out. But this has to be the last run out.
Mm-hmm. Do you think for the mental thing, Brian, that we should just probably hire Neil Warnock for a week and have him bring Donald out for a point? Or
why not? Why not? Hey, you win by being fucking disciplined.
Let me ask you, Brian. Just we can harp on Liverpool for hours and hours and hours. That's our job as American Scouts or TV. But let's give Newcastle, and I know you're going to hate this, Eddie Howe a bit of credit, but. If there's any of the teams that have not won trophies in years that I would have a soft spot for win, more so because Kevin Keegan probably should have won something with them, and I love Kevin Keegan. I worship the ground he walks on. But for that set of fans to endure 55 years, we cry after 30 years about winning the league title, whilst winning Champions Leagues, FA Cups, and League Cups in the meantime. To be fair, but. If you're an old lad Newcastle fan, an old flat cap, belly out, tattoos on, 60 to 70-year-old, this is a great day for you, isn't it?
I mean, how did that Alan Shearer's decide right there not win anything? That's as great as he was when he was at Newcastle. Again, right there, they were, good for them right there. It's everybody gets their time and stuff like that. So, good for them. But, I can't ate my crow right there with Gally about Eddie Howe on Discord right there because, we've been going back and forth about Eddie Howe now for about the past year or 2 right there and all that. So he got his victory lap. So I'll let him enjoy his day right now. But Joe, the one player that Kazi had talked about that we were worried about was immense today. Joe Linton was freaking amazing. Yeah. And that was who I was most concerned about right there in the whole on that whole midfield, and he just came there. He did his job and stuff like that. So hey, it's football, So it's got to be a winner, it's got to be a loser, And I think that on today right there, we basically weren't up for it as much as right there. I don't think we were I agree with what Brock said. I think emotionally we probably weren't up for it, but also in the same essence, physically we were not up for it right there because these guys are done. They're spent. I guess if we can just go and crawl through the rest of the space right there and just win the league right there. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of change and upheaval come here in a couple of months.
Brock, before we wrap it all up, give me your final thoughts on the day, and how do we all pick ourselves up as Liverpool fans going forward for the next week? or 2. Is it 2 weeks? That's the international break next
2 weeks
weekend.
off. I fucking can't wait.
Oh yeah.
Oh, come on. We're Liverpool fans. I mean, we're used to this stuff. I don't need to pick myself up. I'm already over it. I can even say rah rah to the tunes.
Will you get a good night's sleep like Curtis will?
Not a problem. Look. Here's the thing. For Newcastle to beat Liverpool in any game, right? They have to show up and do a great job. And we have to not show up and do a great job at not showing up, right? You put these things together, they got a chance. This Newcastle team versus this Liverpool team. That's what happened today. Look, it's football, it's sports. This thing happens. I can't be particularly. I mean, I would have been much more upset if it was United on the other side, right? I would have been, I would have been much more upset about something like that. I'm happy for them. They got a trophy that for after such a long time. We got another wake-up call as if we needed one. You'd argue that perhaps we didn't, but this was should be a good slap upside the head. And just, I just, look, if you'd come to me at the beginning of the season and said, new manager, no new players, and we're going to end the season with a league title, the biggest of the 4 majors, in my opinion, bigger than the Champions League, I've been hugging you and crying and be utterly. So if that's what we're going to end up with, it's not a bad outcome.
I'm just going to have a word with HR about you there, Barack. I'm in no hug zone. Cosy, final thoughts.
Well, listen, backside, listen, it is what it is. Kind of think, we know what we're getting out of the team now, and it is what it is. And it's 5 more wins. That's all I care about. I don't care how you get them. I think it's 5, maybe 4. Who cares? I just win the damn games. That's all. I don't care how you do it. I don't care. Oh, you're tired. I don't care. Don't pick up your paycheck then. Because I can't be bothered with you. Win the 4 games, lads. You've delivered all the dreams. We get it. It's frustrating. I'm annoyed because I'm more annoyed with the manager, if I'm honest, but I'm annoyed with the team. It's frustrating. But that international break's a wonderful time, Just go away for 2 weeks and don't even look at me. I can't, but even, you say this, don't Barack, right? But it's even sometimes like that with the players, don't you? Go, and I can't even be bothered looking at him today. He was garbage. Just go away. Just go and play for just go to South America, come play for your international and come home, and we'll have a big chat then. Because sometimes absence makes the heart grow fonder. But if Liverpool need that kick up the arse, your next game is Everton at home.
Yep.
You know what they've done to you for the last couple of weeks. You go in now and you make a statement. I think it's a Wednesday night under the lights in Anfield. We get a big atmosphere going. We've got nothing else to play for. And I think sometimes these kind of things can rejuvenate the crowd where you haven't seen the lads for a couple of weeks. They come back and you go, Everton, first game back. We're going to, you know what I mean? And then if Fulham can do the business and get something off Arsenal, then my God, go into that derby and we get going. And this is not the end of the world. Of course, it's frustrating and it's annoying. But the dreams can still be relieved in a few more games.
Brian, final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I mean, I can't say any more than what Brock and Kazi said right there. I think that, and I will say right there, I'm looking forward to the international break.
You're still not getting it back from room 433.
Next weekend, I'm going to sit there and not even think about those little pricks. What happened today?
I think I need the international break for the coach there to get my mind clear right there from the past freaking week right there. I mean, and just to give myself a reset right there. But of course, right there, we'll be back on Thursday night right there. So we'll just still harp about everything that we normally harp about and all that. But, well done to Newcastle. They came there and played a better match and they won. So, I mean, move on from this right there. But again, like I said right there, and I'll second Barack on this right there. In August, if you'd have told us that we were going to win the league right there, I'd probably came there and I'd have laughed you out of town right there. I mean, but it's it just goes resilience to the squad right there. I mean, somewhat resilience right there over the past, except for this past week. But to come and walk away with the league title right there, I mean, it will be nice. Just gotta come here and win these next couple matches. And just move on from that.
Winning the league will help me to get over losing the League Cup final. Winning the
league every day.
I think it can suffice.
It'll do. But I think what we all have to walk away from this is a number of lessons. Number one, we still have a league title to win, so it's a great day to still be a Liverpool fan. Number two, Cozzy was right about a lot of things, so we got to give him credit. Number three, Barak is fantastic, and we hope we see him again in more post matches and pre matches. And it's St. Paddy's Day tomorrow, so everybody should have a drink. Just have a drink and then forget all about it. And then finally,
no compliments about Brian there, but there we go.
No. The most important thing you have to remember is Brian has to have a better serious thought about his room 433 picks the week before Cup Final.
Well, I'll tell you about.
I like Eddie Howe.
About St. Paddy's Day, it's so hard to find Guinness on draft around here, but I happen to have the one place 5 minutes from my house.
There you go.
Guess where I'm going to be.
You can drink mine for me because I'm teetotal. I got kicked out of the country for that. So with everybody else, we will see. I mean, this is what it means to be Liverpool. There's always another trophy to go for, and thankfully we have the biggest one. So, we're matron, but we have the biggest one to go for. So we will see everybody the morning coffee tomorrow morning, I'm assuming, and then the podcast tomorrow night, Monday night podcast. They'll be more in depth about the game, I'm sure. But like and subscribe, smash or tap that like button on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever it's called, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and Telepathy, whichever takes your fancy there. We are also psychic, in case anybody didn't know. But we'll see everybody soon enough. Have a good one. Peace out. Enjoy the Sunday, and happy Paddy's Day if you celebrate.